We're Glif, the team behind a wide range of Filecoin dedicated products and tools. I'm Georgia, and today I'm going to explain how Glif manages risks for users when depositing their Filecoin with us. If you're staking your FIL tokens with any protocol, you're going to have questions around risk and safety, and you should. It's important to understand the mechanisms behind any project before you use it, so you can determine if it's right for you. We often get questions like, how are stakers protected by the infinity pool? How does Glif deal with the risk of storage providers not paying back what they borrowed? What about storage providers who might get shut down? Isn't that risky for lenders? So I'm going to answer these questions with a walkthrough in the docs. The Glif docs is full of really useful information, so I do recommend you go and take a look, and the link is in the video description. First, collateral. Collateral is basically a security deposit that the storage provider uses to borrow FIL from the Glif pool. It protects stakers in the event that the storage provider doesn't pay back what they've borrowed. Folks commonly refer to Filecoin storage providers and Filecoin miners interchangeably, but we use these two terms to mean the following things. The storage provider is either a human or an organization that provides storage to the Filecoin network, and they earn block rewards. The Filecoin miner, or miner actor, is the actual software code that a storage provider uses to provide storage and earn rewards. So a single storage provider can run one or more unique miner actors. A miner actor already has Filecoin tokens on it, which means it can act as a valid form of collateral when borrowing from Glif. Storage providers can borrow an amount of FIL that's equal to the total equity value of their miner actor. Equity consists of available balance, vesting balance, and initial pledge, and I'm going to explain these three buckets in more detail. A miner actor has available balance, which is the liquid Filecoin that's on the miner actor. It could be used or withdrawn. The second bucket is a miner actor's vesting balance. Say a miner actor earns 10 FIL in block rewards, 25% of that goes immediately to the available balance, but 75% of that vests over 180 days, which means they can't access it immediately, it gets drip fed to them. So that miner is unable to use that FIL until it's released. The last bucket is pledge collateral. This is the Filecoin that's actually being used by the storage provider as a security deposit to secure data, and it's how Filecoin's proof of storage consensus mechanism works. So when you look at an active or growing miner actor, their composition looks a lot like this. They have most of their Filecoin pledged, some is block rewards they've earned, which is vested, which is slowly being released to them every day and becoming available. It makes sense that the smallest amount of FIL in the composition is available because storage providers want to be efficient. They should be using available FIL for pledging more data and therefore earning more block rewards. So with this composition of all three buckets, this is the miner actor's equity value. How much will a storage provider be able to borrow from Glif? If the total equity value of this miner is 1,000 FIL, then they're eligible to borrow 1,000 FIL. So how should we look at this from a risk perspective? What if the storage provider's miner actor behaves poorly or they fail to pay back what they borrowed? It's useful to understand these three terms. Say a storage provider is breaking the rules or they go offline or delete the data. This means they're losing money and a risk to people who've deposited into the pool. So the pool needs to recover as much Filecoin as it can. The liquidation value is how much Filecoin would be left on that miner, which Glif would be able to recoup. The recovery rate is just the liquidation value in percentage form. If we look at this table below, say the equity value of the miner actor is 1,000 FIL and the recovery rate is 70%, then the liquidation value would be 700 FIL. That's what Glif would be able to take back from a poorly performing miner. The risk of loss is the amount of FIL that would be lost by that miner. So if the equity value is 1,000 and the liquidation value is 700, then the risk of loss is 300 FIL. Glif took the code of the Filecoin miner actor and was able to build a program that simulates the liquidation of any miner. The research uncovered that the recovery rate was more than 50%. The recovery rate is affected by many dynamic subsystems in Filecoin, things like whether the storage provider is a FIL plus miner or not, whether a miner's sectors have recently pledged or are about to expire, how much the cost of pledging was at the time of pledging, and lots of other variables. But Glif simulations suggest the recovery rate is on average 60%. And given the research and what we've seen recently on mainnet, this is a conservative estimate. Here's an example of how Glif reduces losses for the pool with poorly performing miners. A miner actor has 1,000 FIL in equity value, and they borrow 1,000 FIL from Glif, so now they have 2,000 FIL. Say there's a liquidation event and the recovery rate is 60%, then the pool will recover 1,200 FIL, and lost funds would be 800 Phil. The way Glif works is that the pool will always recoup the Phil before the storage provider, which means though the storage provider borrowed 1,000 Phil, the pool can actually recoup 1,200, and therefore the pool loss is 0. If the pool recovers more, then it can pay off the existing fee the storage provider owed as well. So you can see that as long as the recovery rate is better than 50%, the pool doesn't lose funds. The collateral a storage provider brings to Glif in order to borrow Phil and the way funds are recovered is what protects user funds in the pool. Glif can deploy Phil to any storage provider that adds equity to the pool because the way the pool works will always recoup the recovery rate of Phil first. If you're lending your Phil out on a protocol that has a recovery rate that's less than 50%, then you need to understand what percentage of your Phil and total portfolio is at risk. Glif has designed a way of managing how funds get recovered in the instance that a storage provider goes into default, and it's called an agent. Check out our video all about how Glif agents protect lenders and storage providers for a deep dive on how this works.